Thank you for joining us. This is the open forum for discussion of the programs that we've identified as, I guess I'd call them finalists for signature designation in the education area. I won't spend much time going over sort of the history of what got us to here, but I do think it's a great example of our university community coming together. We've had lots of people involved in the conversation about how to identify these areas. It's important work. We've had, most of you know, a series of public forums like this. We've had this call for concept papers. We've brought in people to review those, mostly internal, but some external people to help us as well. And I personally feel very good about where we are at this point in time. Today is the opportunity mostly for people to ask questions of the team leader, if you will, in the area that we're considering for signature designation. So what the format is, we are asked people to present a very brief overview of their area. So we've given them the impossible task of saying, here's why tell us why this is important and all the great things you do, and you have 5 minutes to do that. But the purpose is that this primarily really not to be primarily a presentation show and tell, but an opportunity for other folks to ask questions about that. You will note that we're being recorded, and as we've done all along in this process, we're trying to take create every avenue that we can for folks to participate in this process. So we have on our website already posted the proposals for these signature areas that anyone can read, and we have an opportunity there for people to pose questions or comments. Soon we will have this video posted, and again there's an opportunity for people to post suggestions and comments. But I will say to those of you here and to those of you out in TV land, post quickly, because we're moving this process ahead. We set the goal of finishing our review and discussion process by May 30th, and we're on track to meet that goal. We will have an announcement, a sort of final announcement. I'm now going to say very early in June. I want to work with marketing and communication to make sure we have everything's in line, but it'll in all likelihood be the very first week in June. So let me make a few points if I haven't made them already. So opportunity to hear brief comments regarding each area and ask questions. And then, whoops, there's the website. Not that you would remember that, but just go to the Provost website, and it's pretty self-explanatory in how you find your way to the signature and emerging program discussion. This is the order that we'll do them in. We'll have the Honors College, then the Graduate School of Biomedical Science and Engineering, then the College of Engineering, Marine Sciences, and then Forests, Wildlife, and the Environment. So before I turn things over to Francois to talk to us about the Honors College, any quick questions for me about our process? All right, up and there's the presenters for each. Francois, you need to set up your own video?
Well, it's on here. We just have to find
I'll ask Robin to jump in. And
maybe we can get an escape key or something and get out of there, or?
Yep.
Yes, Robin.
Okay, and just close that. Thank you. So I think I might have the record for the number of slides, the most number of slides, and I'll try to go quickly on this. A lot of pictures.
I tried this once, but we know it works.
Right.
Oh, great, it's not
It's not
responding.
responding.
There we go.
There we go, good. So our motto there. So I want to just talk to you a little about what goes on in honors before we go any further. Basically, we have a college in which students, all honors students are of course students in another college and in departments, and we consider them to be dual citizens. We have a series of core courses and a thesis requirement which really cover the depth and breadth of the honors experience for our students. Just a sense of the scale, we recently celebrated 87 honors students who graduated this year in 2014. We are one of the oldest honors programs in the country, and this just shows some of our theses going back to 1937. The program actually started in 1935. So I've sort of structured this around the criteria of the signature and emerging request for proposals. In terms of fit to place, I don't think we can argue that honors has a particular connection to marine or forest or anything like that. We're really a microcosm of the university. I would say that one of our strengths is this living learning community within the university, where we have dorms that are dedicated for honor students with class space in the same area, and so there's this sort of sense of a learning community for students in honors, and that gives a sense of that's Colvin Hall, where a space that's open 24/7 to students to study and hang out and talk to each other. The second criterion was to demonstrate prominence, and we do have, probably by definition, by construction, a very high level of mean SAT scores relative to the university as a whole. Our students tend to be very competitive for national and other prestigious scholarships and awards. I won't read all the bullets, but basically we have a fair amount of data which shows that we admit really good students, and we add some value to their education, and they leave here with some real credentials and ability to compete in the state and national level. And this is one example, Rachel Binder-Hathaway, who was the valedictorian of the class of 2012 and won a number of these kinds of awards. We advance institutional reputation in the sense that many of our graduates, but of course they're also graduates of departments and other colleges, have made their way in the world and have come back to tell us about it. Recently we had David Bronson here from the class of '69. He's the president of the Cleveland Clinic Regional Hospitals. Bettina Boxall won a Pulitzer Prize, and so on. So we have a number of ways in which I think we contribute to the intellectual discourse on campus, and much of this happens because of our graduates coming back to give back. So this shows a couple of a slide that just shows some of our posters for some of these kinds of events. And of course, one of our graduates, again, a graduate of another department on campus as well, Bernard Lown, won the Nobel Peace Prize. Talk a little bit about innovation instruction. Our classes are essentially all small seminar classes with 12 to 15 students. We do have a number of, I think, rather unique experiences. We have the Honors 150, 155 Phage Genomics class, which is a research-intensive course for first-year students. This has actually been somewhat transformative, I think, for this cohort of students going through this course. They learn a lot about doing genomics research, and then they're just hungry for more, and by their junior year, they're sort of hungry to do more than we can maybe even offer in some cases. And so we're trying to find ways to increase the ability to keep up with some of what these students have gotten out of these kinds of experiences. We're very flexible with other departments, co-ops, and internships, and very much wanting to foster these kinds of experiences for our students. One thing that we're working on right now is to increase our capability to connect with the community and do research with undergraduate students and with community partners. And then one thing I will mention is we have a new partnership with Tembusu College in Singapore. In fact, we have a faculty member from Singapore teaching a May term for us. Now she's actually here with us today, and we'll be sending some students to Singapore this summer. Here are some pictures of 150, 155, and some pictures of study abroad. And finally, close to the last slide, demonstrating synergy with research and service. Maybe I'll start at the bottom. A little table that shows the scholarly output since 2012 of a cross-section, about 30 honors faculty in terms of publications, presentations, etc. There's quite a broad range of faculty, so we have some categories that don't show up in everybody's list, and we're very proud of that as well. One of the new initiatives is this Sustainable Food Systems Research Collaborative, which I see as an example of a research cluster focused in honors, which again brings together honor students, faculty, and community partners to build sort of a research system or research cluster that will allow us to have longitudinal thinking about the research that we're doing. Instead of the thesis being a one-off, there will be some context for a number of students to work together. We have a group of students this summer working in this arena with some support from the SSI sort of expansion grant, and that's been very exciting. And we want to do more of that kind of research cluster work. So there's some pictures representing research. And that's the end. Thank you.
Okay, questions or comments for Charlie? Oh.
Francois, if you were to be given this designation,
I'm flattered.
It was your fault.
yeah, it's up on the screen. He's here, I'm sure. Francois, if honors were to be given this designation, what benefit do you feel would accrue to the Honors College? And with this designation, what would you do to advance the kinds of things you're doing further?
So I think that the Honors College within the National Honors context is poised to really take the next step. I think we're a well-respected Honors College. We have quite a lot to say in the national dialogue, but I think that being valued and being given this designation by the University of Maine would actually enhance our ability to participate in that dialogue. So that's certainly one thing that would help us. I think it would also help us deal with our recruiting and bringing students to campus. I think having that designation just adds a little bit of cachet to what we already do. So I think we could do more of that. In terms of moving forward, I think if indeed this is kind of an endorsement of what we're doing and the kinds of directions I'm going to be taking the college in, that I'm going to feel I have a bit more license to be an activist in building new partnerships, let's say in humanities or digital humanities, with a research cluster in that area. Looking at how I can connect our core curriculum into the junior and senior years more tightly, those kinds of things. So there's a number of things we can do here.
Other questions for Bob? I've got one for you. So, you show data, particularly with respect to the Honors College role of really attracting top-notch students to the university. That's really important. One bit of feedback that we got was, well, every university's got an honors program, and many are moving to this honors college. Mm-hmm. How is that distinct from us? So how do you respond to that?
Well, I'd say that in a number of ways we're ahead of the curve. I think, again, not all universities have an honors college, and we've now had one for 10 years. I think we are ahead of the curve, for example, in our faculty models. Many honors colleges don't have tenure track lines in college, and that's, again, I think we're maybe leading the curve. It may be, in these climate, maybe even countercultural, but I think it's a good move because it really does show that we're valuing this research experience. And I think that's probably what we're known for here at UMaine in our honors college, is the rigor and depth of that thesis experience. There are very few places that have anything that quite compares to that.
Anyone else? Okay, Francois, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up will be David Nevin in Graduate School of Biomedical Science and Engineering. Well, he was working on that. So Moses is up on top of the mountain. He's up there for quite a long time. And his assistant is up there. This is where assistants are very important. So I think about Robin coming in here. There's assistants up on the mountain with him. And so finally they say, look, we got to find out what's going on. They send someone up to come down. Moses, tell us what's going on. And Moses said, well, I can't. So I send my assistant down. And the assistant comes down. They said, well, what's going on? They said, well, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is I got them down to 10. The bad news is adultery is still in. Was that?
How does one follow that?
I've got to think of 4 more jokes.
That's wonderful. All right, thank you, Jeff. So I'm delighted to present today the GSBSE Graduate School for Biomedical Science and Engineering, a proposed signature educational area. So the GSBSE is a collaborative interaction. We have 6 institutions across the state of Maine that represent the biomedical research entity within the state. We have 3 universities, University of Maine, which is the degree granting institution, University of Southern Maine, University of New England, and 3 private research institutions, the Jackson Laboratory, Mount Desert Island Biological Laboratory, and Maine Medical Center Research Institute. And as you can see, they're geographically fairly displaced around the state. The program offers 2 PhD degrees, one in biomedical science and one in biomedical engineering. In addition, we recently added a professional science master's degree in bioinformatics. It's a fairly large program. Currently we have 37 PhD students in it. We have 3 professional science master's students and a lot of faculty, 150 faculty spread across those various institutions. This makes it, in fact, the largest PhD program in the STEM area in the state of Maine. And this is clearly crucial to us maintaining as a university our Carnegie status. PhD, just structurally, the PhD students are supported by the GSBC for the first 2 years with central funds. That includes a stipend, health insurance, of course, tuition and fees. They then roll off onto their advisor support for the remainder of their PhD studies. In the first year, the students perform 3 rotations. 2 of those must be at different institutions within our collaborative institutions. And at the end of that first year, they then select their dissertation mentor and settle down and commence their thesis research. A little bit of history to put it in perspective. GSBSE was founded in 2006 as a result of the mandate by then Governor Baldacci. That was in his 2005 State of the State address. And this was really intended to boost the number of graduates in this field of biomedical science and engineering and to impact research in that area within the state. And so the GSBSE research is targeted towards the needs of the state. We have one of the highest incidence per capita of cancer in the US. We also have the oldest median age of residents within the state at 43.5 years. So a very large proportion of the GSBSE's research is targeted towards those issues. The quality of our graduate students is superb. Here you see a plot of total number of applicants for each year the GSBSE has existed. 2006 we had 20 applicants. This year we had about 60 applicants. As you see, we see a very nice increasing trend, a big jump in 2012, which was due to our website development. About 1/3 of our students come from within the state, so we have good fit to state. About another 1/3 come from states in the US other than Maine, and about 1/3 are international. Our acceptance rate is less than 10%, so not surprisingly, the quality of the students that we bring in is superb. In terms of how significant is this to UMaine's graduate mission, here's a plot of the total number of applicants, or I should say the percentage of total number of applicants to the graduate school that GSBSE represents. And again, you see it's a significantly increasing trend. So GSBSE is becoming more and more prominent within the university's graduate mission. How do we advance the university's mission and reputation? We've graduated to date 25 PhD students. 19 of those have gone on to postdoctoral positions at universities or medical centers. 4 have gone into industry and non-profits. Each of those is actually within the state of Maine. 1 has completed a family medicine residency in the state of Maine, and 1 is currently interviewing in the pharmaceutical industry. So a very high success rate in terms of placements. What have we done in terms of innovation and instruction and education? As I mentioned before, we have a very distributed model. Students are all over the state, and that raises certain challenges and certain opportunities. So we've employed a comprehensive strategy of curriculum development, of disseminating courses via video conferencing, and also the website, which I mentioned earlier. We have a foundations class, which actually spans 2 semesters, which brings all students into the program up to a common level. So we have very disparate incoming disciplines. We have people from engineering, from the physical sciences, biological sciences, and we've got to educate them all to a level that they can succeed in these courses. Students, of course, also complete a responsible conduct of research course and a computational biology course. And as I mentioned, all classes are available by distance education. And I won't linger on this too long, but one of the innovative parts of our website is Student Navigator, which you can see a screenshot of here. It basically gives students a very clear outline of these are the milestones you have to meet in order to graduate. And each time they meet one, There's a posting of a document to the website stating that they have achieved that. Provides great transparency to the student and to the thesis committee and the advisor. Everyone knows where they're at, they're on the same page, and it definitely promotes adherence to the program requirements. This program's actually been adopted by the School of Marine Science. This was developed, I should say, in conjunction with Rainstorm Consulting. So it's been rolled out within the University of Maine to other programs, and there are also 2 colleges in Connecticut that are looking at adopting this as well. In recognition of the educational model, the GSBSE was awarded 2nd place in the 2014 NAGS ETS, which is the Northeast Association of Graduate Studies Educational Testing Service Competition for Excellence in Innovation in Graduate Education. Close to the end now, so we've recently formed an external advisory board. In fact, we're meeting on Friday for the first time, and I won't go through the details here, but it's a very illustrious advisory board. We have members on there that address the various constituencies of the GSBSE. We have the medical professions, we have alumni, we have industry, we have academia, we have current students, and we have university administration. So the intent here is that will give us guidance in terms of curricular development, in terms of our research direction, hopefully be an advocate both inside and outside the university, aid in fundraising, etc. In terms of future directions, where I'd like us to go, I'd like to increase us from an incoming class of 5 to 10 per year. In order to do that, we're pursuing NSF and NIH training grants. In fact, we're currently writing an NSF NRT proposal, having got through the preliminary stage. And I'd like to work in the future with the development office closely and with private foundations to increase the GSBSE's endowment. And the concept here is to use the revenue from the endowment to pay stipends and support for students. And what you see there, just to close, is a shot of the 2013 annual meeting with the student cohort. And with that, I'll conclude and take questions.
Any questions for David? Owen?
I have 2 questions for you, David. If you could please respond to the concerns some people have with regards to sustainability and cost of the program, particularly if you're looking to increase the number of students to 10, and how you see that then playing out. So I'll start with that question, then I have another one.
Sure. So I think the last bullet hopefully addresses that. So currently this has mandated MEIF support. So Governor Baldacci mandated this be supported moving forward. That is base level funding. That's what's supporting the 5 students we bring in currently. They're supported for the 2 years with that funding. Each of the institutions also contributes a total of $70,000 per year from institutional funds that goes to the GSBSE that supports administration. So admin is not paid out of the MEIF section. So how do we increase it moving forward? It's that bottom bullet point. Okay, we've got to get development funds. We have an endowment. It's not a massive endowment, but we hope to grow it. And 100% of those funds will be funneled back into student growth. In addition, the bullet above it, hopefully we'll be successful in an NSF NRT proposal. So it's challenging, there's no doubt about it. But I think we need to increase the number.
You got a second?
Yeah, I have one other. The other question I have is, some people, certainly there's really interesting things you're doing with your educational model and some other great things that are happening with the school, but some people might say it's a little too early for you to be considered a signature program. You need a few more years to mature. So what do you say to the too early-ites?
Okay, so I'd say we've been around since 2006. We've graduated a very significant number of students. We may be early, but we're the largest PhD program in the STEM disciplines. We're the 2nd largest named program in the graduate school. So I'd say that's pretty significant progress in a mere 8 years. So I guess that would be my response to that one.
I'm going to ask a follow-up question about the stability. So the partner institutions, they all contribute some money to help underwrite this. Can you talk to us a bit about the commitment of the other institutions to maintaining this, the GSBSE?
Yep. Let me put it this way. I send out an invoice and they pay it. If they weren't paying it, I would have concerns. From their perspective, the leveraging of their funds is massive. So we're talking a total of $70,000 split across 6 institutions. We prorate that by number of students at each institution, so those that have more students pay more. So let's say that let's say the maximum paid by one institution is $15,000. They probably have of the order of 7 PhD students who have been supported for 2 years at a cost of the order of $60,000 to $70,000 times 5 or 6 students, and they're paying an annual contribution, say $15,000. So they're getting absolutely superb students, and their investment in those financially is very small. So I think it's very highly leveraged, actually.
Other questions? So I'm curious, the model, so the students come in, those 5 students, they get MEI funding for 2 years, and they rotate their experience around the different,
Yep.
so when a student comes in, and what I'm trying to understand is the commitment, how do they get matched up, and how do they figure out where they're then going to spend and focus for their
Yeah, that's a
thesis?
great question. I glossed over it. So the students self-select their rotations. And so we have a rotation booklet. We send it out to the incoming students. Here are possible rotation projects. In addition, they can contact mentors that they're particularly interested in. They self-select those rotations, and they self-select up to three at least. They can have a 4th if they choose to. And the purpose to those rotations is not just broadening their education, but also identifying a dissertation mentor. And so they're targeting those selection of projects, short projects, in order to identify someone they want to spend the next 4 years with doing their research. So their motivation coming in is, I've got to find the right fit for me. The advantage to the PI that takes them on is they get them in the lab for 12 months, funded by MEIF funds that they're not supporting. I can't think of a circumstance where we've actually had a student change advisors after that first 12 months. They know from the rotation, spending 3 months with them, I should say, whether that's a good fit for them.
And have you had an issue where an advisor said thanks but no thanks to the student?
We've had that on rotations,
Yeah.
yes. We have had that on rotations mutually.
Yeah.
Students have said this is not for me, and mentors have said this is not for me. Either for personality issues, which occasionally crop up, or the research fit isn't there. But that's the purpose of the rotations, is find this out now, not 2 or 3 years down the road.
But have all those students then subsequently found someone to guide their dissertation?
Correct.
Eric?
Yeah. You touched on this a little bit, David, but it wasn't real clear. Of your graduates, let's say what percentage stay in Maine long term, make their career in Maine?
Well, long term, given we're 8 years old, is a little hard to define. But I would say, so we've currently got 4 or 5 of the 25 that are graduating. So let's say roughly 20% are currently in the state. The rest have gone on with very prestigious postdocs out of state. What percentage come back to the state? Don't yet know. I think we need some more years to tell that.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Dave.
You got another joke?
I'm trying to think. I'm racing through my head. So I can't come with any more
I did
clean ones.
it.
So.
Yeah, there we go.
I'll invite anyone from the audience who has a G-rated joke.
So Provost walks into a bar.
Okay, let's get that up there
was
fast.
much quicker, thank you. Dana Humphrey, College of Engineering.
Okay. Thank you, and this proposal is submitted on the behalf of the engineering department chairs, and 3 are here, Don Hummels, Hamed Pensy, Eric Landis, and what I'm going to do is go through the key items we're supposed to address for this proposal. And so these are the items, and we'll go through them, and I'll probably spend more time talking about fit to place than some of the others. When we look at what's the demand for engineers in our state, over a 9-month period, there were 12,000 job postings for engineers in the state of Maine. And this shows the distribution by discipline. When I say job postings, some are for people with decades of experience, some for entry level. And to put this in perspective, we graduate a little bit over 300 engineers a year. And for practical purposes, the only institution in the state of Maine that grants engineering degrees, 93% of the bachelor's degrees in engineering come from this institution. Very small numbers come from University of Southern Maine and Maine Maritime Academy, so we're very critical to the state. If we look at the trends for engineering employment in Maine compared to the employment of all professions, we can see that engineering is rising very substantially. Compared to 2004, engineering is up 15%. If you look at what happened in the middle of the recession for engineering, you really don't see a very significant change during the recession, whereas employment for all professions, which is the red line, has decreased and has not yet recovered from the recession. So we've got very, very strong demand for the graduates from our program. Another indication of the demand is the placement rate for our graduates. This comes from the Life After UMaine survey. And we can see that before the recession, we had 100% placement of our graduates, and of that, about 91% reported full-time employment, and about 9% reported full-time graduate school. In the depth of the recession, our placement rate went down to about 95%, and now in 2012, which is the most recent data that's available, we're back up to basically 100%. Where do our graduates go? Long-term average is about 60% get their first job in Maine. The other 40%, if you're to look at a map of the U.S. and throw a dart, we've got students that work there. Now we talk about building on Maine's existing and future resource base. Maine's economy historically has been a natural resources-based economy. It was based on our proximity to the sea. It was based on our forests. And engineering has played a critical role in that, and we continue to. If we look at forest products as it's represented by the pulp and paper industry, dimensional building lumber, very, very important, and we look at programs like chemical engineering, absolutely critical to those industries. But another resource base that Maine now has is really manufacturing, and I'm talking about very sophisticated manufacturing operations. What I have on the far side is a picture of one of our students, Allie Hayford, who had 3 summer internships at Pratt & Whitney in North Berwick. This plant has nearly 1 million square feet under one roof. And I tell you, if you go into this plant and you look down the end of the long corridor, you can see the curvature of the earth. And it is, and this is an absolutely vital employer, making very sophisticated parts for jet engines, and they're vital in terms of producing GDP for our state, and it's also a great place to provide opportunities for our graduates. We talk about the connection between the college and our community, a key aspect of the signature process. All of our students do senior capstone design projects. This is an actual project they have to design and in many cases build. Many are very connected to the community. An example would be one of the civil engineering capstone design projects this year was for the Alphont Boys and Girls Club in Waterville. What they designed was a very sophisticated and large rooftop greenhouse system so that the students and children who are participating in that program could practice sustainable agriculture. 80% of our students participate in an internship. This can be with external employers, it can be with very substantial hands-on research experience here on campus, but we're very connected to the community through that. We're active in promoting K through 12 STEM education in the state of Maine. Each year, the faculty and students in the college reach 5,000 students in our state. One of the examples, and this is the picture on the far side, is the Maine Engineering Expo, where we had about 1,600 people come on a Saturday, where we have displays and hands-on projects where students can get excited about actually pursuing STEM careers. We also work with individual schools to take and develop STEM programs within their high school. A sterling example is the effort with Bangor High School, where we have helped them develop a STEM academy within their high school. We went out and sought and successfully got a $750,000 NSF grant to help support that effort, and I think this is critical to all the areas of STEM in terms of trying to take and really promote those career paths. Now taking and talking about attracting top-tier undergraduates and graduate students. This is what the enrollment growth trends look like for the College of Engineering. Or if we go back to 2001, we had 1,088 undergraduates in the college, and as of last fall, we have 1,723. That's a 58% growth. And if we take and compare that to what's happening nationwide, we're actually growing much faster than the nation here at the UMaine College of Engineering. It has placed some significant stresses on the college because our student-faculty ratio has gone from 17 to now about 26, and that's actually one of the things that places a limiting factor on the growth of the college. Our attractiveness to students is not just within the state of Maine, it's also from students outside the state of Maine. This shows the growth of non-resident students in an incoming class starting in 2009, and we've got the numbers that are pretty close now for what's going to happen this coming fall, almost 140. So that's somewhere around a threefold growth, and that's of course an emphasis for the university as a whole. But I'll point out that this growth started long before the university had that big effort, and I really think it shows the attractiveness of our program. If you look at the SAT scores of our incoming students, we have the highest average SAT scores of any unit at the university, save the Honors College, but we have a lot of engineering students that help contribute to that average. In terms of graduate students, our graduate students have the highest quantitative GRE scores of any of the incoming groups coming into the University of Maine. Very high employment. At the time of graduation, we've got 95% employment of our graduates and very impressive starting salaries. When I hear the starting salaries of some of the graduates, I want to know if I can apply too. But they say, no, Dana, you're too experienced and we couldn't take you. In terms of advancing the institutional reputation and recognition, achievements of our faculty, and these are just a few examples. Habib Dagher, who I call him a 1 in 10,000 professor. He's a truly incredible individual. One of the awards that he received was the Charles Pankow Award for Innovation. This is the highest award given by the national society called the American Society of Civil Engineers, and it was awarded at a black tie dinner in Washington, D.C., and a very, very great honor for Habib and his program. We have John Vetolino, who is a fellow in the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, or IEEE. This is awarded to 0.1% of their members. So to be selected as a fellow is indeed a very high honor. And then we have Karen Horton, who is very prominent in the national organization, Society of Women Engineers, and she actually chairs their government relations committee. The college has 3 Carnegie Foundation Maine Professors of the Year, which means that 3 of the best professors in the entire state of Maine for 3 years, they came from the College of Engineering. We talk about our graduates. We have, I'll point out just a few. We have Frank Woodard and Al Curran. They founded a firm that bears their name, and they grew from 8 employees when they started to over 700. And about 200 of those are employed in Maine, and they also have offices as far south as Atlanta. But this really shows the power of 2 UMaine graduates to really create a very, very impressive engineering organization. We have Lawrence Bender, shown with this picture there, civil engineer, and Owen is just shaking his head. And it's like, it can't possibly be a civil engineer could go off and be a Hollywood producer. But he was a dancer, but when he says about how he can be a Hollywood producer, many of the organizational skills that he learned in engineering are actually critical to his job. And what this points out is that with the skills that a graduate from engineering learns, there's many, many career paths, not just in the traditional engineering fields. We have over 100 companies that are headed by our graduates, and just to point out a few, Beth Sturdivant, who is president of a firm called CCB, that's the largest union contractor in the state of Maine. Jerry Chassé, who's president of Emira Maine, who's keeping the lights on in the room that we sit, and Andy Vigu, who's the CEO of Chinbro, the largest contractor in the state of Maine. We talk about instruction. The hallmark of UMaine engineering and the way that we pursue our instruction is a very hands-on project. It starts when the students come in the door and it ends with their capstone project when they graduate. What we're looking at here is just an example. This is a snowmobile. It started as a stock snowmobile. It's been modified to run on compressed natural gas. Why is that important? It's important because compressed natural gas burns much cleaner than gasoline. So our students are taking and learning via this project how we can take and make vehicles that burn in a more environmentally friendly friendly manner. We have extensive hands-on student-led extracurricular activities. We're looking at here, it's the t-shirt launcher. If you've been to a University of Maine hockey game, you've probably seen this out on the ice. This is done by the University of Maine Black Bear Robotics team. Not only do they do this fun project, they actually run statewide the VEX robotics competitions for the entire state of Maine, and that's done by our students, and it's a student-led effort. 80% of our graduates participate in either an internship or a co-op opportunity or undergraduate research. And what does it all mean when we look at this instruction? We have the highest retention rate in the University of Maine, over 90%, which means the students that start the first year come back in the second year. Why? Because we have this very hands-on engaged program. And then the final slide is there's tremendous amounts of synergies between our teaching and our research and our service. And I'll just leave you with this picture, which is a picture of the village that we worked with for about 5 years in Del Severe, Honduras, where this village had, every time it rained, it was washing sewage into their drinking water supply. And what we did is develop first a surface water management plan and then a sewage management plan, and the students actually designed it, went down, oversaw and helped in the construction, and this really shows how our students get engaged and really take their engineering skills and help to make the world a better place. So with that, I'll stop and entertain any questions there might be.
Okay, questions for Dean Humphrey? Come on, Owen.
I knew I would have a question.
Dana, I'll ask the same question of you that I asked of Francois, because
Right.
certainly I'm not surprised to see you on this list.
Yeah.
I think, the College of Engineering has long been a hallmark for the university. So,
Right.
so what benefit is this to you?
Yes.
And particularly thinking forward, how do you see the university and the College of Engineering moving forward, particularly in possibly new areas, additive manufacturing and some other sorts of things?
Right, right.
You think projecting ahead?
Okay, so I mean, some of the things that would be very important to have this designation is strengthen even more our ability to recruit out-of-state students, because our competition are private institutions like Worcester Polytech, RPI, and such, and we need that designation to compete against them even more effectively. In terms of where the college can go in terms of new areas, renewable energy is an absolutely critical area. For most of us, looking at the age of folks in the room here, we'll make it out of this world burning fossil fuel. But the students that are studying engineering today, they won't. And these engineers really need to have the skills to be able to take and make that transition. And as we take and grow the capabilities in the college, that's an area that's going to be very, very important to us. It's also very important that we continue to focus on things like advanced materials, wireless communications, making even more effective use of our natural resources, such that at the end of the day, I mean, what's the purpose of the College of Engineering? Our purpose is to take and provide the graduates and the new ideas to take and move Maine's economy forward. Because Maine doesn't need more jobs. What we need is more high-paying jobs to kind of get us out of the conundrum we're in. We're just trying to support a state, trying to support a university with people that work really, really hard, by and large, at doing things that don't create enough value.
I got to pick around here. Dana, the student-faculty ratio that you had obviously was going up, and that's been a chronic concern for your college, given its central role at the university and its role in research. So, to use an overused term, is that sustainable? And the designation of a signature program and the discussion of growth, how does that mix with the current faculty that you have and the role of research faculty in meeting those goals?
Right, okay, so what I provide for reference, I mean, the other New England land grant engineering programs, their student faculty ratio, the highest is 19, that's at the University of New Hampshire, so we're very high. And it does have an impact, that the ratio we have now of 26, does have an impact on our ability to carry out our research and graduate education mission. It's my hope, as part of this, we'll be able to at least stop the growth in the student-faculty ratio with added faculty. And of course, I look with great hope to our provost for that, as I'm sure we all have other programs that need faculty too. But that, to me, is a necessary outcome in terms of stopping the growth and hopefully at some point turning back the student-faculty ratio, because there's demand for our graduates, but what we need to have is we need to have the faculty to teach them, and that's really the key limiting factor.
Other questions for Dana? Dana, I'll ask you a question that I think it's a hard one, because it was asked of me this morning,
Yeah.
generally, and I'm going to ask you more specifically of you.
Okay.
So this morning, at a meeting, someone presented me with a table of data about the signature areas, the ones we've identified so far.
Yeah.
And the data show that these are male-dominated with respect to faculty and student
Right.
issues. And the point they were making to me was, how can the signature, so I'm going to give you your answer. But can the signature designation help in some way in us diversifying our faculty in our areas that are disproportionately there? So how would you respond to that?
Absolutely, and that's absolutely, it's a very critical question to me as Dean of the college, and it's very critical to the college as a whole. The year I was appointed as the official dean as opposed to the interim dean, one of the key programs we started was called Girls Engineer Maine, where we work with middle school girls. Because you actually have to start at that age in order to kind of expose to what the possibilities might be. And what we've been able to do is to take and move the percent of women in our college from somewhere around 14% to 18%. It's kind of like trying to turn a battleship. You turn the rudder, and it takes a while, but we're making progress. And I think it's absolutely critical that we take and increase the number of women students in our program, to have more women faculty members as role models for those students. And just to give a specific example of why is it really important, and for those of you who were at the advanced meeting yesterday, the speaker gave an excellent example. We all have airbags in our cars. They were designed by male engineers for a typical height and weight of male. And for individuals who are smaller, lighter, and that includes women as well as children, we actually ended up with a design solution that's not as effective as it can be. So for engineering, it's absolutely critical that we do that, and it's something that I'm very committed to. And we're just going to keep on hammering away at it until we continue to, as we continue to make progress.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Dana, thanks a lot. Next presentation is Marine Sciences and Fei Chai.
Take it from there.
Well, you've been reading the newspapers about the Ukraine and all the things that are going on with Russia and Ukraine. That reminds me, I'll tell you about it.
So, let me give you the key point why school marine sciences or marine sciences should be the signature education area here at the University of Maine. So the school marine sciences has used the marine science or ocean as a model to teach our students the basic knowledge in science, not only in marine science, the other science areas, the necessary skills, the communication skill, the writing skill, and then the ability, the critical thinking, we call the KSA, to help them find the jobs, to send them to graduate school, to become a scientist just like us. The second point, the curriculum we developed is relatively new. We started in 1996. We have to keep remodify it, refine it, improve it in order to be competitive. All right, so that's the second point. The third is really we have a group of a very active researcher doing the science and getting the knowledge, generating knowledge and information and from the Gulf of Maine, coast of Maine, and incorporate that into our curriculum to inspire our students. That's a very critical, it's important. The third is really the student-centered in the school marine sciences. We care our students' well-being, and we do so through a very small hands-on, lab-oriented, field-oriented curriculum. So I will get back to those 4 key words at the end: doing science, inspiring the students, and innovating your program and caring the students' well-being. So the rest of it is the data, is the nice, pretty pictures. I hope you will get this. The School of Marine Sciences has a truly interdisciplinary. We have 32 regular faculty, among them 22 tenure stream faculty, 10 research faculty. That's a unique on this campus. We have 30 or so staff, supporting staff, technicians, postdocs, mainly supported through the research grants. We generate roughly between $7 to $10 million research grants annually for the past 12 years. So we offer various degree programs. The most 2 signature programs is the Bachelor degree of Science, BS, in marine science in both marine biology track as well as the physical track, the oceanography and social other areas. The second signature program is really this a 2-degree program, very innovative, has been copied by the other institutions. In 3 years, the students receive 2 masters. One is either in marine biology or oceanography. The second is in social science. This has been our signature program, has been highly sought after. So here's the data showing our majors for the past 18 years. We started in 1996, initial growth from 20 students up to 100, and in about 4 or 5 years. Since 2003 or 4, we experienced exponential growth. And in the fall, we are going to have a 73 new incoming class. That pushes us to over a 250 student major in marine science, 85% of them come from out of state. And for the first time, and we're going to have 20 international students, 12 students from Brazil, and then 8 students from China. They're going to study the marine science from 1 semester to 3 semesters. This is not only to build up our reputation globally, but it also enrich our own students' learning. Through this interaction, we are sending our students to overseas. Right now, we have 1 student studying in China in marine science and international affairs. This summer, we're going to send 2 of our seniors to China to study the marine science as a summer research interns. So this is, I think, is a win-win situation, and then to really truly educate the global citizen to be competitive. The success of our program, the major, is really 3 elements. It is the knowledge, not only the marine science, but a basic science, the biology, physics, math, the skills the employers need, the ability, and critical thinking, we call the KSA. We put the KSA pretty much in most of our marine major courses throughout the entire curriculum. The second element is really the hands-on, the field and lab-based learning. That involves small group settings, range from 8 to 14, that's the maximum. That involves a lot of timing and the interaction between the students and the staff and the faculty, and then in the very close relationship by doing so. The third is really doing the research with the faculty. The capstone is required for all our students, and then they do the report, they do the posters and writing the thesis. Some of them, I think it's 15% with honors college. One of the signature of offerings is called Integrated Marine Science, IMS modules. This is, we started about 2005, 2006. Throughout this a series of modules, the 4 of them, we put a KSA throughout the entire 4 years of our students' learning. So this has been very successful, and it's a tremendous value we learn. We keep improving it. It put a lot of the strength and the pressure on our faculty. Mary Jean spent about 8 to 10 hours here in the lab alone with 3 or 4 sessions, and plus 5 hours driving from Darling Center to here. So that's a typical Monday. So the second signature program is the Semester by the Sea. This year we're celebrating the 21st years, and it started before the School of Marine Sciences. This year we have 24 students, the largest class enrollment Semester by the Sea in the history, and then there's 4 students from China, and 2 students from Brazil. We are pretty much close to the maximum capacity, which is the 30. That's the number of the beds, the dorms. And this is unique because a group of students 8 to 14 spend the entire day with a professor, either on the field or in the lab and dig in the mud. So to summarize this semester by the sea, we call it smell the ocean, touch the water, play with the creatures from the sea. So that's how we present ourselves. So how do we know the success? This is our program beside this enrollment increase. So we conducted a survey last year because when I meet with the parents, the first question we'll ask, do you think my son and daughter will get a job after the marine science degree? I didn't have an answer until now. I am glad to report that 90% of our students have jobs, the graduate, all right? And half of them have completed or currently enrolled in the graduate degree program. Not necessarily in marine science. They're in the medical school, veterinary school, and all the field, even in engineering. So I think the 70% of the jobs related to the marine science, 40% directly related, 30% some sort related. So this is the sector of the employment you can see. And then about 20% in the higher education, they're doing science and teaching. And then you can see this a federal and the state employee, the federal agencies, and the private sector. This is interesting. About 15%, they're in education, K through education. They can teach marine science or basic science. So this is how well we prepared our students. And this is the KSAs. This is all the questions related to KSAs. 70% or more the students think they are more than adequately prepared to address their job needs. That's very satisfying and seeing this. So the other part of contribute to this growth of enrollment is really of our own graduate recommend our program. They bring their siblings, they bring their friends, and they bring their cousins to the UMaine. Some of them not necessarily end up in the school of marine sciences, but in the other majors as well. I think this is a very, very important. This is the high value of all the students to appreciate our the faculty and the staff caring. So I gave you a short story. This is the key point. I think the key word is the faculty doing research actively, the inspiring the students, to train them to become a scientist and prepare them for the job. You have to keep modifying and innovating your programs. And currently we developed, approved PSM and the professional science master degree in marine science. We're exploring this a BA in marine studies that involves the College of Liberal Arts and Science and other units. The bottom line is you really have to care about your students' well-being. That's all. Thank you.
Questions for Fei Chai?
Watch
Oh,
out now.
Smith, how about you?
I guess I'm the question shill. I have two somewhat related questions for you. One is, could you talk a little bit about the reputation and standing for the School of Marine Sciences in terms of how it relates to other similar programs across the country or in the world? And also, in relationship to that, as you are looking forward, if you're given signature status, how do you increase that reputation?
Good question. The first one, the marine science as a major is relatively new. There is a marine biology major spread out in the biology department and etc. The marine science as a major, as a degree, is really not many in the country. There's some starting develop. If you Google it, some of our students, that's what they do. So the School of Marine Sciences at University of Maine rank number 3, number 4, and depend on the rankings. The Duke number 1, the BU number 2, and etc. So there's other institutions start recognize there's a market, there's a demand. They start developing, such as University of New Hampshire. So it took us about 18 years to get to the point. So you have to refine it. I think the second question, well, the other countries, well, they have oceanography, but primarily the graduate program. As an undergraduate, I think this is unique and new. But the second part of your question, giving the status of the signature area, I think that will enhance our profile to help the recruiting the students, not necessarily to the school marine sciences, but to the other units. For example, if we establish this BA in marine studies, it will boost the enrollment in the history, anthropology, and English, and involve their faculty in teaching some of the courses. And also we want to expand some minor, such as in earth and climate science, and we try to develop this. We already started with the ES, the environmental science, with a marine track. So I think it will help whether that exponential growth curve is sustainable or not, that remains to be seen.
Other questions? You partially addressed the question I had in mind, but can you talk a little bit about the capacity? You're at 250 students. And what is the capacity for growth in the School of Marine Sciences? And what would you need to realize that?
Depend on the resources, right? So I think we try to figure out how to address this level of the growth. And then primarily the IMS, the Integrated Marine Science module, is very demanding. And can the faculty sustain this 4 or 5 sessions, this 2 or 3 hours each session, or can we embrace some of the technical supporting staff, the graduate students, training the graduate students to cover some of the sessions. We already started doing that. And we have to be creative in some way. Sending students to use the Darling Marine Center, not only the semester by the sea, but also the main term. Right now, we have all fully enrolled main term, I think, the 6 courses for the first time. And then whether we can expand this for a spring semester. So make a year-long program at the Darling Marine Center instead of 1 semester. But I don't think a student would like to be there in the middle of January. So, all right, so I hope I answered the question.
Anyone else questions? Talk about just one more based on the pictures that you showed there. When marine scientists go out into the field, is it always a nice day when you're out there?
We have thousands of pictures. That's just my selection of it. Thank you.
And our final presentation today is Forests, Wildlife, and the Environment. And Professor Steve Shaler will...
Good time for a joke.
Oh, okay, so the rest of it got me thinking about these 3 guys in the Gulag. And that's back in the Soviet days, of course. And these 3 guys are sitting in the Gulag, and they're, you know, busting rocks and slowly I need to busting rocks. And one guy said, "Why are you here?" And he goes, "Well, I was late for work." And he said, "You're stealing from your country to the Gulag." I said, "Why are you here?" I knew that was, I had heard about that happening. I was there to work 15 minutes early every day. So why did they send you? They said, "Oh, you're here early, you must be spying." Off to the Gulag. The third guy, he said, "What about you?" He said, "I got to work on time every day, exactly right on time." So why did they send you? They said, "Well, you must have an American watch to the Gulag." All right, and that's the last one. Yeah, that's a Jim Moore.
Well, I don't know about you, but I've learned a lot today. Very interesting presentations, a lot of things going on, good things going on in the university. And hopefully you'll learn a few things from the rest of the day. The topic here is a proposal on forests, wildlife, and the environment. And that is an amalgam of school forest resources, Dan Harrison, who is head of Department of now the Wildlife, Fisheries, and Conservation Biology, and Aram Calhoun, who's director of the Ecology and Environmental Sciences program. And this has been a great experience for us as we've talked together and discovered more and more commonalities that we sort of knew about, but it's been a very good process from that regard. So let me talk a little bit about what these different units represent. At the undergraduate, we have 5 different degrees: ecology, environmental science, forest operations, bioproducts, forestry, parks, rec and tourism, and wildlife ecology. And at the graduate level, of course, we have master's, PhD programs in all of those areas, but we also have professional degree programs. A Master of Forestry, just like in engineering, forestry is you need to be licensed in order to practice that. You need to graduate from an accredited program. And so students that have come from biology, history, whatever, if they want to be accredited, we have that professional program, and we're actually just signing now a 4+1 program that fits into that, and there's also the Masters of Wildlife Conservation. So these are professional programs. A little bit about where we're at. Fit to place. State of Maine, a lot of water, a lot of marine resources, and a lot of trees and lakes and fish and trees. And the economy of the state, of course, is built on these natural resources. The forest products economy is $8.1 billion, which is about 1 out of every 20 jobs, which is about 1 out of every $16 in gross state product. Recreational activities, we have a Parks, Rec, and Tourism program. Recreational activities that are forest-based. We're not talking about, we like to go down to the lighthouse, but anyway, $2.8 billion in sales, 20,000 people employed. Hunting, fishing, and wildlife, $1.3 billion. Maine, the outdoors, man, that's I think part of why a lot of us are here. It's the most heavily forested state in the U.S., and because of that, if we look beyond the borders of Maine, but we look regionally, we see that from here on the lower left, we're looking at biomass potential. Maine is different. It's unique, certainly compared to the New England region. On the right, if we look at wildlife habitat, green represents contiguous forest, which is important for much of the wildlife. A lot up in Canada, Quebec, but Maine is distinct in New England. Ecosystem services, that's focusing on water. Of course, obviously that's tied in with the forest, it's tied in with the streams. Maine is different than the area. From nature-based tourism, here we're looking at the light green is less human impact, whether you got power lines, et cetera. And we see that northern part of Maine, the western part of Maine, down east Maine, has different character than a lot of the U.S., which makes us distinct regionally and nationally. What's relevant to the students that are coming to the University of Maine? Well, for what we're talking about, a big part of it is they're interested in outdoor careers, at least until after we got our students in forestry camp. They're up northern Maine this week, Comstock, and black flies might be coming out. Some of them might decide they want to do computer modeling, and we'll find out. But there's a whole lot of things that are associated with outdoor careers. People are interested in wildlife, forestry, conservation law, bioenergy, policy, fisheries, ecology, carbon storage, climate change, tourism. These are all issues that resonate with the students, that are part of what's discussed in the classroom, that are part of what the careers where these people go out. And so that's what our students are interested in. If we look at enrollment, this is over the past 4 years, 2011. The first 3 columns are the individual units. Let's look at the totals. We see enrollment and year over change. I'll use 2011 as a base. Slight increase. Last 2 years, exponential growth. The projections for this fall would be 450 students. See, 150 over 300, 50% increase in 3 years, basically in 2 years. Let's delve into that number a little bit. So that's great. Let's look at the out-of-state students. Here we're going back to 2010. Year over change has been, again, exponentially increasing. But we see now fully, we're expecting half of the students in these programs are going to be out-of-state students. Why that rapid increase? We think there's a couple reasons. One, the units are working hard to do that. We're changing how we're going after students, but also the university started to increase their marketing of the university to out-of-state students about 2 years ago. That's resonated. Let's check out the University of Maine. Natural resources, that's for me. Other places don't have that. Maine is unique, and we're able to capture that. Over 50% of the students that are admitted to the university actually choose to come here, which is a very high percentage. So if we kind of hit you over the head with this, 25% enrollments for next year over this year, accelerating increase in out-of-state students, high percentage of those, we're looking at about 65% of our incoming students next fall are going to be out of state. And of course, why and having them stay here, that educational experience, we are in a world-class environment right here in Maine. It's recognized all over. It's different. We have the ocean, we have the water, we have the trees, we have the wildlife. It's unique. Our classes are field-based in large part, experiential, and we have great, again, world-class learning opportunities. We have $13,000 of university forest. Dan Harrison was saying 4 different national wildlife refuges that refuges that the students go to for lab courses that are within an hour and a half of campus. You can't do that in other places. Maine is unique in that opportunity. We have the watersheds, we have field experiences. So those students get outdoors, they get their hands dirty, they like that. Graduate education, this year combined we've got 38 PhD, 34 MS, 15 professional masters. EES program includes people all over. We're not counting the EES students that are in marine sciences, strictly the EES graduate students that are advised by either SFR or wildlife ecology graduate students. So we're not double counting there. Of course, that requires a lot of resources, over $4 million this current year by the faculty associated with this. And our graduate students are linked not only in the field, but a variety of organized research units on campus, the Forest Service, Cooperative Forest or Fish and Wildlife Service. Our students work all over. It's a very diverse field that we're talking about once you're outside. Spencer here just, I think, got the President's Award for research this year. I forget the exact title, but yeah, for graduate. So, and he was an SSI. Both of these are SSI students that are up here. Our students are successful. Well, not 100%, right? But a lot of very successful students that are in leadership positions. The state agencies, whether we're DEP, Fish and Wildlife, Forest Service, they're filled with the graduates here from the University of Maine. Private industry, all the land management companies, the NGOs, all of those organizations that have an interest in the wildlife, in the land, in the natural resources, which again is a big part of Maine, are filled with our students. Our students have become faculty at universities all over the world, in the United States, and so a lot of successful students. And if we look at the synergies, talked a bit about the research, over 100 students a year we hire for our research, whether they're out in the field, whether they're in the lab. A lot of our students get interns. The companies are coming sooner and sooner every year to get those best students, to try and cherry pick before the other company. They're coming in October this year for the summer employment. Our students are in the Honor College, involved with research, partnering with business, and a majority of the faculty are also part of the Maine Ag and Forest Experiment Station, which is part and parcel of the land grant mission of the university. We interact throughout the state. A lot of our faculty are on boards, are involved with organizations throughout the state. So with that, I think I'm at about the 5 minutes. There's some wildlife running around there. We all recognize Katahdin, and
All there.
It's all there, right there. So with that, I'll wait for Owen's question.
Okay. But I didn't raise my hand anymore. I'm curious in terms of what the potential you see if this were to move forward in terms of broadening the interdisciplinary nature of involved groups. We've got 3 pretty good interdisciplinary groups, but there's certainly lots of other campus groups that would be interested in and connected to these topics in these areas.
Yeah.
And how do you see that moving potentially as this moves forward?
Yeah, good question, Owen. One of the areas, well, one is nature-based tourism, which is a new concentration in our PRT program. Certainly the business school, a lot of our students end up with business minors. We see that as a big growth area. But all of these, what we call human dimensions of all of this resource is becoming increasingly important. Wildlife has a new faculty member, Jessica Leahy's a unit in SFR, where that social science is just part of what you look at, because society is defining, in essence, the value of this land or what happens in this land and this water to us as a society. So there's a real trend towards more social sciences. Darren Ranko from anthropology is involved in projects on brown ash, the emerald ash borer that's coming, and the impact that could have on the Native American culture of brown ash in basket making and other things. So I think we're recognizing more and more the social dimension. That's why SSI has been we've been heavily involved, the faculty from all of these units in that SSI program, which is that mix. So I see that happening more. Of course, we've got a lot of interaction with engineering and all of that also already. So.
Actually, I have another question. With regards to research initiatives, there is a potential signature area in research that's connected to some of these topics. What do you see the sort of educational signature program, and how might it connect to having a signature program in a related set of areas in research?
The signature research here, a lot of the faculty, certainly from School of Forest Resources, cross into that. Probably 70% of the faculty are involved, so there's a natural match there. I think it's the tie-in one on the graduate education. The students, obviously that increases student involvement. We're seeing increases in postdocs, increases in research faculty, all of which that are then, we're hiring all those students that are involved in that research. So it really permeates through as part of the whole culture, I think, and just a rich soup to nuts activity and culture. So I'm not sure I answered your question, but Dan, you have?
Well, yeah, I'm a comment as a co-author on this proposal or on this presentation is that one thing I think we need to emphasize is the niche strength component here and our ability to compete within the region. The forestry program is the only forestry program remaining in New England, and the New England Board of Higher Education recognizes that and provides NEVI status, which gives the tuition break. Wildlife ecology, just in the last 2 years, the University of Connecticut, which has a small wildlife program, they recognized that our program was superior and granted Connecticut students NEVI status here. So one of our big competitors, UConn, we now land the majority of those Connecticut students end up here. Just this past year, we got NEVI status for UMass. Or for Massachusetts. So now we are recognized as the outstanding wildlife program in New England, and that really gives us an opportunity both on the forestry and the wildlife side to attract these non-resident students. And we also have the only PhD in wildlife in New England. And so that provides a synergy between research and we've had 25 PhD students produced in STEM, and the majority of them female students. in the past 7 years. So our biggest issue there, I think, on both sides, is just the sheer size of our faculty and how to balance this growing undergraduate enrollment and all these non-resident students that generate revenue with right now, in our case, 1.75 research FTEs. How do you continue to produce that number of graduate students? There's over 100 graduate committee slots that need to be filled in our department.
And another part of that, we focused a lot on Maine and the importance to Maine. We're getting more and more students out of Maine. Our students work outside of Maine. It's that balance. We're serving Maine, but it's also, we're part of the globe and the importance of all of these resources to everybody around the world. So we see part of what's going to happen is increased international, I mean, people go all over it, but more and more emphasis on the national and the international impact of what happens here and what students from here can do around the world.
Other questions? Okay, Steve, thank you very much. Well, I want to thank you all for participating, and today I'll echo what Steve said. Steve said, I learned more today, even though I've read these proposals, just seeing and hearing about these areas of excellence. It really does make us feel good about the university that we're at. The theme, of course, you heard running through is that they could all do more with more resources, and so that is part of what this is about, is figuring out how do we determine how to use resources here at the university. How do we use these signature status? How do we use the kind of information that you all have made available to us to bring in private resources, state resources, and federal resources? And so, anyway, I want to thank everyone for doing that. Tomorrow we'll be back and looking at the finalist group for the signature research areas, and I hope you can come for that as well. Thanks a lot.